Maritime Matters is brought to you live by Bahamas Maritime Connection.
What is maritime?
Maritime, simply put, relates to navigation or commerce on the high seas.
Some say money makes the world go round. I say ships move the money that make the world move.
Who navigates those large international ships?
How often are international ships required to be surveyed and inspected?
Maritime also protects our seas and borders by way of our local Bahamas Defense Force.
It is very sad to say that out of 1,500 plus ships that are registered under the Bahamian flag, only a very small amount of Bahamians are employed.
Maritime Matters.
And a pleasant good evening to you, our valued listening audience. Welcome one, welcome all, welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our producer for tonight's show is none other than Mr. Sensational himself, Mr. Craig Gibson. We're coming to you live via Love 97 FM. This is Tuesday, the 18th day of February, 2025. And if it's a Tuesday, it's Maritime Matters. We encourage that if you're driving and tune in with us, please do so cautiously and ensure to take your time in getting wherever it is you are trying to get safely. As the saying goes, drive to arrive alive. Our sponsors for tonight's show are One-on-One Pharmacy and also Island Care Pharmacy. For all your medication needs, check out my little cousin Shantia, that's Shantia Heel McBride, and her lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy in Nassau and Island Care Pharmacy in Freeport. Fill the prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. That would be One-on-One Pharmacy, all lowercase, all one word, .com. The three locations are East Street South. And, when you go in there, you got to tell Joy hello, a little fine pharmacist in the name Joy. She will give you and get you whatever you need for your problems. Joy is not easy. On Charles Sanders Highway. And, of course, when you go in there, my little cuz, Ancilla, we call her Seller. We call her simply Seller. Seller run things because she run the money. You know how that go. And then you got downtown Freeport. We ain't call this one-on-one pharmacy. You know what we call this one? Island Care Pharmacy. And you see my big cuz. I mean big because she's little solid. Steph. I mean big because she older than me. That's my cousin. Now the only three of them was older than me. Christina, Stephanie, and my brother Nimrod. I used to $4 grand out of Tom Hepburn clan. So I got a little clout here, right? But I get called Steph and Christina big sis because they're my elders. When you go in there, you just let Steph know. Your little cousin tell me come in here and you all got anything I need for medication. And he tell me when I come in here, let you all know, Maritime Matters send me. So you can take up that little something, right, Steph? Yeah, that's my good cousin, Steph. Boy, look, here we go, we get it to Roll Avenue, doing everything you're doing back in them days when you're growing up in places like Roll Avenue and Camp Road and Fox Hill and I wouldn't even put the bottoms down there because they came around later. Baintown, of course. We wasn't easy. So, we are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited. At BMC, we provide a full slate of ISPS, Maritime, and we can talk about ISPS tonight. So we can know what this ISPS all about tonight. At least we can talk a little bit about it, right? The training part. And at BMC, we got a slew of security officers who are top-notch when it comes to port security. We got in our Nassau office, a couple of people there. We got Mario doing all the technical stuff. Kathy does all the accounts for the entire company. We got Dawn. She's the one who manages all the security operations and do all of what need to be done as far as security is concerned, right? And of course, in our Freeport office, we got Lydia Ferguson Henfield. Mrs. Henfield, she run things. She's the, what you call it, head sister in charge. We'll try to get me trouble on this. Anyway, that's BMC, Bahamas Maritime Connection. We do all maritime / port security jobs that you would need done. And I say, good night, Auntie May. My good old auntie up there in Freeport. Boy, Auntie May was trying to reach me today. I was so tired up, Auntie May, I can listen to a message after the show. But boy, I hope you tell me nothing to put on the show. But anyway, you know how this. Me and you can catch up. We always. But Auntie May is 91 years old, people, and gonna be 92 this year. 92 in about 2 or 3 months, as I recall it. 2 or 3 months, Auntie May will be 92. You know what I mean? Maybe next month. I think it's March, you know. Auntie May, I have to catch up. Last week I wasn't sure. This week I ain't sure. That ain't good. But Auntie May is going on 92, and she is such a strong woman. She break down my show like nobody's business. And I just want to say good night to her, and of course her lovely 4 daughters. You get Lauren, you get Margot, you get Bernice, that's my goddaughter, my god sister, and of course you get Yvonne. I used to forget Yvonne, but Yvonne, I ain't gonna forget you no more, baby. I got you covered. They had May daughters who keep her going, and they may have 2 sons. Both of them passed away, and guess what? It's so hurtful. Both of them passed away within 2 weeks apart of each other. Well, she had to bury 2 sons, one right after the next, and her only 2 sons. Anyway, that's my Auntie May, strong woman, and she lives on 90, 91 plus 92, then 93. And when she get over 100, she can start thinking about how long she won't be around with us, right? But I know Auntie May getting over 100. Right, Auntie May? Well, you know how we roll. Me, you always talking about that. It's laugh, but I laugh too, because we know you're strong, right? So, you're listening to Maritime Matters. And on this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters airs weekly at 17:05. That's 5:05 p.m. every Tuesday here on Love 97 FM. The purpose of our show is to highlight persons that made significant contributions to the maritime industry in the Bahamas and to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sectors. We also cover current maritime issues from the domestic and international maritime feeds. The phone number to reach us, should you wish to get in on the discussions during the show, is 328. Correction, 326. And you might want to write this down, right? 326-8255. The number again, if you want to reach us during the show, is 326-8255. To hear a replay of this show or any of our previous shows, simply hit us up at any time on our YouTube page. That's Maritime Matters Bahamas. 3 words, just like I love you, Maritime Matters Bahamas. There you go. So just go to the YouTube on your electronic device and type into the search box Maritime Matters Bahamas, and you will see a slew of shows that we had produced for you over the years, since over 2 years now. We're in our 3rd year. So you know that's plenty shows, right? Because you know we don't play. We not easy. So let's talk maritime. Hello. Tonight we present to you a collage of maritime training programs. Topics shall include the following: certifications for boat operators in the domestic setting. So we want to know how you will certify to become a boat operator. When we say boat operator certification, we're talking about for the captain on board, eh? We only got 2 local licenses in this country. Well, first of all, you got to do the basic safety training. That's the 4 core modules under STCW. Even if you want to be a crew on the boat, you got to do the basic safety training, and that's if you're going on a boat that is plying for hire, right? If they're going to carry passengers, everybody on the boat should have done the basic safety training. If you're going to carry cargo, everybody on the boat should have done the basic safety training. And that's a requirement by the port department to make sure that if something go wrong, the people on board have an idea how to deal with those 4 core modules coming under the basic. We can talk about the basic safety training in a little while, right? And we got also, if you want to be a captain, you need a B-class license. What is a B-class license? We can go into more details of that too. A B-class license simply means that you can get a license to handle your little boat, not big boats. These boats are like, your first license you probably get up to 100 gross tons, right? Which is small. And if you could handle that boat, and then later on they give you probably 300 gross ton, then 500 gross ton, and then they cap off at 500, because when you get over 500 now you're looking at big things under the SEC level convention, right? So the B class gives you the authority or license you to operate a boat in any local harbor area. Now the Bahamas is divided into about 14 or 15 different harbor areas. Like Nassau Harbor area would be all the ports within the Nassau area, like you start downtown with Prince George Wharf and Arawa Key, and you go in west along to Lyford Key and Clifton Pier, and then you're coming straight around Albany, and in the south you got those marinas, right? But those marinas, like what they name it, where all them rich people live out there in the back there. Man, you all know what they're talking about, man. Sunsail and what the big one name it about? Port New Providence. And those ones where the canal comes straight to the back of their house, eh? And they can hop from the dock straight in their boat, from the house sometimes straight into the boat, and head out to sea and catch the little fish and come back, do whatever they want to do. So all these are in Nassau Harbor areas. You come straight around the harbor, all the marinas. Yacht Haven Marina, the one named PI, the Hurricane Hole Marina, Porter's Key Dock, any harbor within the proximity of Nassau, within about a mile of, really not all of them attached to Nassau around the coast, eh? So that's how you roll in with that. Now that's if you get a B class license for Nassau, but if you get a B class license for, say, Cat Island, yeah, of course you got the ports around Cat Island. It ain't much. You got Smith's Bay, which is the big one, where the mail boat comes and all the bigger boats could get. You got Bennett's Harbor up in the north. So that would probably limit you to going anywhere around Cat Island within 5 miles of Cat Island. You could use your B-class license because it's nothing intricate. It's just open waters basically. Same thing with any family island. Inagua, Exuma, Eleuthera probably got more ports and a little more complicated because up in the north there you got Bryland, plus you got what the next one name over there, Spanish Wells, plus you got the mainland. Plus you got current and all the rest of them. So you got a little more tricks to do. But if you get a local license, it covers all that. Yeah, that's the B class. What is an A class license? An A class license is for those who want to have the authority to operate in any port area within the country. For example, we just talked about the different port areas. We talked about around Cat Island. We talked about New Providence. We talked about where else? We talked about Eleuthera. So if you want to be able to go in any one of those port areas and operate, you get an A-class license and you authorize. But you got to do a little more to get the A-class license, right? But some people just think because you get an A-class license, that means you could take a boat from Nassau to Cat Island. That ain't so. That is not so. If you get an A-class license, that only allows you to operate in any particular port area. That don't allow you to cross the ocean and go in open seas. Don't fool yourself. And I wish somebody from the port department would call and help me clarify this. Because I used to think, when I was the deputy port controller, if you get an A-class license, you could take a boat anywhere in the Bahamas. Oh no, you could. And you need an A-class license to do that. But in addition to that A-class license, you need to get your STCW 500 tons master, which you got to be a mate first, then become a master, based on the STCW code for open waters, anywhere in the world. So, quite technically, your A-class license is really a piece of paper or a little booklet or whatever they give you. That means that you as a Bahamian can operate a boat for hire in any port area. And now if you get your STCW to support that, and I ain't talking no basic safety training, I talking STCW 500 gross ton, up to 500 gross ton master. If you get that to support your A-class license, then you could take a boat from here to Inago if you want to. Because you cover both areas. You cover open seas through STCW, and then you cover the port area for anywhere in the Bahamas. So don't never forget that just getting the A-class license alone, that is only halfway there. You can only work in any port area, but you can't go beyond those port areas, right? Those port areas are carefully delineated, and they have limitations. And when you get out in the open ocean between islands, you are no longer in no port area. You're in the high seas, and STCW kicks in. So you would need to get that certification on the STCW, which is an international certification for vessels. And I don't even think we practice that in the Bahamas, because the BMA, who's supposed to be issuing those things, because the port department can't issue it. They don't deal with conventions and international stuff, right? The BMA, the Bahamas Maritime Authority, they're the ones who deal with that. But they ain't checking for us Bahamians. They ain't care about what goes on in the Bahamas when it comes to licensing people and this and that. They don't want nothing. They don't even want no Bahamian owned boats under their register. Y'all know that? But in case y'all don't know, I telling you, and I know most of y'all here, but most of the boat owners, people like, we don't really call names on the show, right? But I get some good friends who own some mail boats, and they also own some boats with us go in and out of Florida to bring cargo and charters and stuff. I ain't calling your name, Tom Manor, and I hadn't still. I ain't calling your name, right? But these brothers, when they went to BMA to register their boat that goes international to Florida, the BMA tell them straight and plain, we don't want y'all boat on our register. Y'all, do you know that they had to go to Panama and Honduras and stuff and to register their boat? And mind you, they still in and out of the Bahamas because they Bahamian owned boats. But the BMA don't even want them on their register. And that's a reason for everything, eh? If y'all want to talk about that reason, 326-8255. Give me a call and let me know if y'all want to go deeper into why Bahamians had to register their boats in a foreign country to operate in the Bahamas. Because the BMA ain't wanting to do with them. And I'll tell you why. It's a lot of reasons now. You know, a little easy decision they had to make. But the BMA really out of line. They out of line because years ago, once you had your boat registered under the Boat Registration Act, it's another thing we had to look at. You could now register your boat with the BMA and get a Bahamian flag register for your boat to go to Florida or to Cuba or wherever you want to go in this zone. And you didn't even have to pay. But they changed all that. You want to register a boat under our flag now, although you registered with the port department. And I want you to know that all these boats were registered in Panama and whatnot by my good friends who own them. They're all registered with the port department because they Bahamian owned. Nobody can stop them getting registration for Bahamian owned boat. Only the BMA playing the thing with the big ass. And with reason, but I don't think that reason is good enough. Part of the reason is they don't want to do due diligence. I used to be a ship inspector with the BMA. I was a nautical inspector for 3 years. They can't pull nothing on me. So I wish one of them will call 326-8255 and say that what I'm saying is not true. Or say that what I'm saying is distorted. And that's from the head honcho, Mr. David Roll Down. And I don't like call names. Boy, I will get tangled with him bad. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, listen to Maritime Matters. I am Captain Glenn Payne, your host, my producer for the night, Mr. Craig Gibson. And we're going down a list of what we could be talking about. We were just talking about certification for boat operators, eh? You get the basic safety training. They need to do the 4 core modules if they work on a boat that is plying for hire. Now, if you got your own boat, you're not registered under the Boat Registration Act. You registered under Water Skiing and Motorboat Control Act. I mean, you're there for pleasure. You got your friends, you all getting load the boat down with a couple coolies, and you all just getting out there to see if you all can catch a fish. Because some people that got boat and things can't even fishing. You know? I got some friends, they got boat, they got even fishing. They got carry people who can fishing so they can get some fish. You all don't believe that? Well, let me tell you something. You got money now, you can do these things, right? So we talk about certification for domestic boats or boat operators. Now, let's go to certifications for ship operators, the big ones, right? Like the ones BMA registers for going worldwide and that type of thing. I mentioned to you all that in addition to the A-class license, somebody who want to take a vessel, whether it be a male, any boat that apply for hire, anywhere from one island of the Bahamas to another island of the Bahamas, in addition to the A-class license, they also need their STCW master under 500 gross tons. And in the case of those vessels, they also need to require to carry a mate under 500 gross tons. And of course, once you qualify to be the mate, after a year or two of sailing as mate, you qualify to become the master because you have some experience as mate, and that's how you get your captains. You start off from a mate, right? And then you got your second or chief engineer under 750 kilowatt. Now, what they do when they deal with engineering certification on the STCW is your certification is based on how much equipment on that ship, how much power between the engines and generators and whatever else produce power. The overall power consumption of that ship determines which one of these licenses you need as an engineer to be qualified to serve in that capacity. And that's how the STCW works. You got to qualify yourself to serve on a ship as a captain, to serve on a ship as a mate, to serve on a ship as even an oiler or a wiper or a deckhand or an AB. You need to qualify yourself. Rating forming part of a navigation watch, officer in charge of a navigation watch, officer in charge of an engineering watch, mate, chief, second engineer, chief engineer, master. These are the positions on the STCW that if you want to serve on a ship in those capacities, you got to go through the sequence of trainings that they have put out there for you. And we'll talk about some of that as we go along, right? Time is moving along. Again, you're listening to Maritime Matters. I'm your host, Captain Glenn Bain. The number to reach us, 326-8255, if you want in on this discussion, or if you just want to kick back and listen. And I thought this topic was important, talking about licenses and people wanting to own boats and want to know what kind of license they need. Man, let me tell you something. If you want to buy yourself a boat, and I was just telling one of my good friends this week, so I just figured I'd bring this on the show, right? Notice that was last week, Friday. If you want to buy yourself a boat, and you ain't know nothing but boats, all you know is you want to go there and catch one fish or two and come back, because you ain't want to lose sight of land. And for that, that's all that eyeball navigation. You ain't need to certify for nothing. The only thing you got to be concerned about is who is going to insure your boat. Because some of these insurance companies require you to have a B-class license to run a pleasure boat. Now, I don't know where in the world they get that from, because there's no legal requirements for that. But that's some of their policy. And if that's their policy and you want to use their insurance, I guess you got to do what they say. You got to do what the man asked for, eh? So, again, certification for ship operators, big boats, under the STCW code. Now, STCW is the international code or the international regulation. They really call it the STCW convention, which really it is. Because the IMO have a litany of conventions that set the parameters, the rules, the requirements for people in the maritime industry serving in certain areas. And the STCW, which stands really technically for Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping for seafarers. This is a code just for people who qualify to be seafarers in certain capacities. And I don't want to get too technical on the show, but basically it's a book what tells you what you need to do, right? To be able to do certain things on international ships, either passenger ships carrying, like cruise ships carrying people for money, or cargo ships carrying people things for money. That's what it boils down to. You can't go out there driving this. Even if you build your ship in your yard and you own the ship, you can't just put that out to sea to but you're going to carry something for money. Because you will be in every violation. In the first port you go to but you're going to trade, take it, detain your ship if you don't get these certificates, and if your crew ain't get the appropriate licenses and all the rest of that. Because that's the name of the game. That's why you have what you call port safety inspectors, which I used to be for 3 years. I used to inspect ships coming to visit our ports, I had an obligation to inspect up to 15% of them that are not carrying our flag, which I met pretty handsomely, I must say. And I learned a lot, like most things, as you do what you learn it. So, back to certification for ship operators. You got the mate or the master of under 500 gross ton. And then you get the second or chief engineer. Now, the second engineer is the one next to the chief, like the mate is next to the captain. A lot of people think a mate on a ship means you just on the ship doing folly. No, sir. The mate is the captain in training. The mate, in some cases, you call it chief mate. But you don't have to call it chief mate no more, because when they call it chief mate, they had like third mate and fourth mate and second mate and then chief mate, and but they don't have third mate and second mate and things like that no more. They loop all of that into something called officer in charge of navigation watch. That's what they loop that into. So when you say mate, you can only be the chief mate. So the mate on board is really the person who's practicing and who's training and who's vying to become a captain. And he does most of the work for the captain. The mate is the hardest working person, should be the hardest working person on the boat, right? Unless you get some captains who give them a lot of slackness and they ain't pulling their weight as captain. And some of these captains out there, mind you, they may have a piece of paper say this captain. Boy, but they're so depending on these mates. If these mates don't do it, they'll fall apart. Anyway, no time for digress, right? Then you got, and the chief and second engineer starts out with 750 kilowatt of power on board the ship. You could handle any ship carrying cargo or passengers for up to 750 kilowatts of total power. The two engines, one engine, whatever they got, plus the generator. You got our generator. All ships have generators, eh? Maybe moving away from fossil fuel. So eventually, and what they started to do already, is they have small boats in certain harbors now that carry battery, like how you get the cars now that don't have engines, they have a battery. What do you call them? The EVs, the electronic vehicles. They now get electronic vessels. And they operate off a big battery, like the car operates off a big battery. And they doing the same speed as these fossil fuel type vessel would do to do ferry from one point to the next in a harbor and stuff like that. And then they could always charge up and reach where they're going. So the reason why the larger big ships ain't really operating on battery like that is simply because they don't really have a ready supply to charge those batteries. Because if you go across the Atlantic, or if you go in from one port to the next and it's going to take you 4 days, that battery only can carry you so far, even in these EVs. So they haven't gotten to the point yet where they can make enough batteries for a ship that it can last for about 2 weeks of the ship running. Mind you, they can get there. I want you to know they can get there. But they ain't get there yet. So up to 7, and all this can go away when the fossil fuel stop, because the power, the 750 kilowatt, is really about engines and generators. When the battery replace them, you ain't have to do no more mechanic work on that and stuff like that. So it's a game changer. Then we got from 500 gross ton, it goes up to 3,000 gross tons. Near coastal, they call it. In other words, you could be on a bigger vessel, anything up to 3,000 gross tons. When we talk about gross tons now, remember most of our mail boats are like just around 500. Well, not today. Them said today like around 1,000 tons, gross tons, right? Because if you go to the western end of Port of Spain, you see those monsters. Those monsters, I call them. They are well over 500 gross tons. And they all fall in line with international ships requiring SOLAS, MARPOL, STCW, and all the rest of that. Except that most of them that are at Porter's Key don't go for it. Now you see, to be a SOLAS ship, a MARPOL ship, all the rest of that, they are only for vessels on international voyages, meaning they're going between two countries, from one port in one country to another port in a different country. But most of those boats, they go right around the Bahamas. The only time they go out if they get a dry dock or something like that, right? So they don't really require to be classed or IMO certified, simply because they're not doing international voyages for hire. That's the reason why they get them, and when they come in, the pressure's off them, right? Because they're not international ships. So you move from 750 kilowatt again to 3,000 kilowatt of power for second engineer and chief engineer, and it's all descriptive as to what you need to do to get these certification, how much training you need to do, how much hours, what courses, what topics you gotta get instructed in, and all the rest of that, how much workshop time you gotta do, and all the rest of that good stuff. All that is outlined in the STCW for those persons who are vying to become these positions. And then the last but not least, you got the over 500 gross tons. In other words, over 3,000 gross tons, sorry. These are ships that they consider you to be unlimited. So if you want to be a captain of one of these 3,000 gross ton and above, first of all, you got to be a mate for that size ship. Ships over 3,000 gross tons. And then after serving so much time as a mate, you qualify by sea time to become the captain. And in most cases, you don't have to do a course because you already did your course to be a mate, which quite frankly, with the sea time as a mate, qualifies you to become Master Unlimited, which we consider, we regard as Master Mariner. You're a Master Mariner when you have the qualification to serve on any ship anywhere in the world. But of course, if you're dealing with tankers, you got to get tanker certification as a master, but you got to be a master first. And if you're dealing with cruise ship or passenger ships, you got to get passenger ship certification in certain areas to work on a passenger ship as a master, right? Unlimited. Although you are a Master Mariner, you can't just go work in these specified areas without getting further what they call endorsements. And again, I don't know if I speak in Greek to some of y'all, but feel free to call in if you know anything or if you have any interest in getting a license to be on a vessel. Even if you want to buy your own boat. Just call in and say, man, I was wondering about this thing, I'd be happy to feel it for you. The number to call is 326-8255. So again, certification for ship operators, mate master under 500, second chief engineer under 750 kilowatt. Then you step it up to master near coastal of under 3,000 gross tons. So it's between 500 and 3,000 now. Chief or second engineer under 3,000 kilowatt, full power. And then you got the unlimited fella who can navigate any ship anywhere in the world, officer in charge of navigation watch. And of course the unlimited chief engineer who can hold a watch as an engineering officer for any ship anywhere in the world. Of course, some endorsement may have to be met for this as well. So you got the officer in charge of navigation watch and the engineer in charge, the officer in charge of engineering watch. Two of them basically got the same status on board, except one is deck, one is engine. But there's a litany of courses and training and sea time they have to put in before they could even get that certification, right? Based on what I know about the STCW requirements to attain certain certifications. And then you got the Master Mariner and the Chief Engineer, which is unlimited, any ship. So what other trainings we'll have? Okay, ISPS certificated or certified trainings, right? Why I getting a little bored in here? Y'all wouldn't call, that's why. Somebody call please and tell me something they want to hear about training in the maritime field. If it's for your child, fine. If it's for yourself, even finer. If it's for your cousin, auntie, daughter, who you know gone off to marine school and you want to know what it's all about, call in. Yeah, some of them still in school right now after SUNY Maritime, Cal Maritime, some in Holland College, some in right here home in LJM, some doing courses at shipmates. Come on, man. You all know some of these people. Call in and try and find out what's going on, what else they need to do, why they doing what they're doing. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. So ISPS certificated trainers. You got, oh no, can't go to ISPS yet, eh? Ice back so. Okay, ISPS, International Ship and Port Facility Security. Now, you know, after 9/11, the world was paying attention to security. So ships are no different. While they move planes to more secured operations, shortly thereafter, the United Nations turned their eyes on IMO and said, now make ships just as secure as these planes, or as secure as it could be. And IMO had no choice but to meet that mandate. And what they did is they put up a regime of what people have to do to certify from the security perspective in the maritime field. And as far as certificates for people who work in this field, we have 3. Anybody who work on any port facility that receives international ship are required to do an awareness training of 4 hours and have a certificate to verify that they did the training. And then, of course, they have to take an exam because you could do a training and still don't understand what's going on. But you have to do some verification to show that you understood some of what's going on so that you could pass and get a certificate. Well, you should. I don't know if that's the way it's happening straight through in this country, because I know we got some slack operators who they'll put on a video. When a video over, the person was in there for 4 hours. They say, okay, you don't sit to it. I hope some of y'all didn't sleep. And they say, now we can give you a certificate. Take no test. They may not understand nothing but ISPS, but yet they're being certified. Because the system has allowed all of this slackness. And I want you to know, I know with some of this. Although we have what you call the ISPS compliance unit, who's supposed to see that these things are being done properly, they check it. I can call names for them if they want to. Every one of them could call the show. ISPS compliance unit. Any of y'all listening? 326-8255. You all know me good, Captain Glenby. Let's discuss this thing. Why some of these facilities are not having these people take exam to verify that they passed the awareness training before they give them the certificate. There's a lot of that going on, and I don't want y'all to think I don't know. You all know I always facing y'all up. Now, ship and port facility personnel with designated security duty. Now this one step up, because the training for the awareness training for all port personnel, and all port personnel means once you work at a port facility, once you got to go to a port facility on a regular day-to-day basis, you're required to do this 4-hour awareness training. Just like for safety, they require you to do an orientation if you work at these facilities, so you can understand. You need to be inducted a little bit into the safety, because some of these facilities, especially these oil facilities, could get very dangerous, and they want you to know what's going on or what you need to do in case of an emergency. Eh? Same thing with security. They should be doing it. They should test you. Now, you got the second level of training, which is 9 hours all in one day in the classroom. And they got a litany of topics you got to cover. But when you finish that, well, you have 2 exams to take if you're doing it with me. But when you finish that, you have to pass those exams at least 60%. And, well, of course, you cover all the material before the exam is taken. And we got on average, we got 80% pass rate. So most people passes it with ease, right? Usually once you could read and interpret things, and because all the questions we give you is multiple choice. We're giving you all the answers. So this is a training called for ship and port facility personnel with designated security. In other words, if you are part of that security force that was put there to conduct your ISPS duties, you're required, before you could start working with that force, to do this training, right? And it's a 9-hour training all in one day, 2 exams, you take lunch, you take a couple breaks, and that's how we roll with that, right? Now, for the head honchos, the third ISPS certification training required under the ISPS code would be the training called ship security officer, the person who works on the ship that's responsible for ensuring that all the security matters are being taken care of. Then you get the company security officer. This is the person who works in the company who works in the office of the company that manages any one of those international ships. All of them report to a company on a daily basis to say what's going on with their ship. So in that office, if they need something for security, whether they need to train somebody, whether they need to fix some locks, whether they need to order some parts, whether they need a survey, whatever they need for security, this company security officer working in the office is supposed to take care of that, right? And of course, the port facility security officer. This is the person who works at the port facility that receives these international ships. That the facility has designated you are a go-to person to deal with this ISPS stuff. So you are our port facility security officer. And of course, the training to qualify you to be a port facility security officer is 3 full days, 6 hours a day, 18 hours. So they say, walk in the park, and then you have exam every day, and then you have to have a final exam showing that you know the stuff, right? So then you walk in the park. You gotta go through it in order to be certified. No matter how long you've been working on the port, you still need to have the appropriate qualification to serve in these capacities. Okay, so that's why we don't cover everything. No, we got one more to cover. We talk about certification for boat operators, certification for ship operators. That's the big ship going international. Boat operators, the one coming right in and going in the Bahamas. That's the A and B license and stuff. Certified training for ISPS. That's your 3 levels. All persons who work at a facility, they do a 4-hour familiarization training. Those who doing security at those facilities or on board a ship, they do the 9-hour training. And those who, the person who's responsible for ensuring that all compliance is being maintained, that's the ship security officer on board the ship, the port facility security officer at the facility, and in the case of the company security officer. And now we can talk a little bit about training to become a marine pilot. No, we can leave that out. Because a marine pilot is like the top job you could get in maritime. I mean, this pays more than most other jobs you can get in maritime. Right? Now, some surveyors and whatnot, they off the chain. They can get more money. But in most places, established ports in the world pay pilots good money. And in the Bahamas, our pilots in Freeport for Barco or Buckeye, for Statoil or South Riding Point, for Freeport Harbor Company, Freeport Container Port, and anything within the harbor of Freeport. We got pilots now bringing ships in Bimini. We need pilots, like we said in our last show last week, to bring in all cruise ships everywhere in the Bahamas and not allow their captains to pilot their own ships and they ain't paying nobody their money. So, pilot training. We have an apprenticeship program based on the Port Authority Act. Then you have examinations that got to be passed. You got clearances that's supposed to be given. And then at the end of the day, you become certified. And I can tell you that's a whole heap of hot mess in this country. Because the Port Authority Board, who's supposed to see that these things are done, ain't doing nothing. The Port Controller, who's supposed to advise the Port Authority Board and the Minister, ain't making sure these things happen. So I know because I've been through the system. And I can tell you it's a hot mess in Nassau. Now in Freeport it's a little different. Although, again, there are some things in Freeport that we need to look at. Like the port director for Freeport Harbor, based on Hawksbill Creek Agreement, can license his people that operate ships within his harbor. But when you come to Buckeye, South Riding Point, the anchorage outside, and anywhere else where large ships want to come in to engage cargo or passenger activities in Freeport, Carnival Billing and Newport, they are going to need pilots. Now, who's going to license those pilots for Carnival Port? What system are they going to have in place to qualify pilots? And all the rest of it. See, that's where all this comes in. So those of you who are concerned about this Carnival Port, since they could be on the line of Freeport, right? They ain't like Half Moon Key, which is a key in the middle of nowhere. Castaway Key, Disney, which is in the middle of nowhere. Cocoa Key and Stirrup Key, which basically attached to no mainland. No, this one attached to mainland. So the question here could be, in my mind anyway, because I don't know, maybe they're sorted out already. Which pilots are going to be qualified to pilot Carnival ship into the new Carnival port with the name something Key, Celebration Key? Because the pilots that pilot the Carnival boats in Freeport Harbor now, they are Freeport Harbor pilots sanctioned and licensed by the port director based on Hospital Creek Agreement. But the port director cannot give a license. He cannot give a sanction or license to anybody operating the ship outside of the Deepwater Harbor. He might try, but that shouldn't fly. The only other entity in this country who could give out a license to pilot is the Minister of Transport. Now, is the Minister of Transport minded to ensure that all ships stopping anywhere in this country that needs pilot or that should have a pilot are actually taking pilots, or their own captains are playing pilot and they ain't paying no Bahamian for doing the job? But for Carnival, Newport, Celebration Key, the minister is the only authority that can issue licenses for pilots to bring ships in and out of that port. And you know what we need to do? Well, not we, but the minister, but the ministry, who we put there, need to do, is to ensure that no ship goes without a licensed pilot, licensed by the minister for that port. Anyway, you all ain't hearing me today. 326-8255 is the number to call. So we can talk a little bit about the formal certification process versus the vocational certification, and that's for masters, master mariners, and chief engineers and stuff like that. You got schools that do the formal, where you get a degree along with your license, and then you get schools where you don't get a degree but you get your license to do what you got to do on the ship, and the course is a little shorter because you ain't got to do all them other subjects that all universities want you to do, right? And last but not least, we can talk a little bit about training institutions, eh? What is required? The monitoring of those institutions, the licensing process, the audit process, and all the rest of that. We ain't gonna talk much about that because, time rolling. Oh, shucks. It's almost 6 o'clock. Maybe we got a little more than, we got about half hour left. Man, anyway. At this point, we can move to our, look like this could be our only break. Move to our break. And when we return, we will continue to delve a little deeper into these same topics. Again, the number to call would be 326-8255. I am Captain Glenn Bain, your host. You are listening to Maritime Matters. And our producer for the night is Mr. Craig Gibson. So please, just hold tight. We shall be right back.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
the morning sun. I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again.
We are back. Welcome back to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain, live on the Love 97 FM. Our producer for tonight is Mr. Craig Gibson. And we're going over this litany of maritime training, situations, operations. And ain't nobody trying to call me. Ain't nobody want to know why, how. Y'all ain't want certified to do nothing in maritime? Or y'all who's certified? Y'all happy with the way everything going? Ain't nothing y'all can say but nothing? Y'all ain't want to call it? I'm sorry, anybody wait for the party department out there? Anybody wait for the BMA? Anybody have a captain license? Anybody wait for companies like, what, that's Marine Tanker with all those ships? Anybody wait for like, who have plenty ships? Defense Force. Defense Force. Y'all even need no license. But most of y'all should be made to have licenses. But this show ain't about getting on your case, right? Because quite legally, y'all ain't need no license. I had none when I was in Defense Force until I realized I had none. Well, of course, I had to do something with that, eh? And me and many others, all of us who went ahead and did something about that, was able to move places in the maritime sector where licenses would be required. Because it's so easy for Defense Force trained person to go off and pass these maritime courses to become certified. Easy. Because in the Defense Force, that's the type of training we do. We do navigation while you recruit. We do a little bit of engineering. We do safety, first aid. We do search and rescue. We do what other social responsibility. We do all those things naturally in our jobs, right? Drills and exercises. So if we do those things naturally, it'll be very easy for us to transition into a certification course and pass it. And I don't know any Defense Force trained personnel who went off to do one of these courses to certify under the STCW code that failed. And we have a good group that did exceptionally well. Excuse me. I need some water because ain't none of y'all want to call. Y'all don't want to give my voice no break. So you have to listen to me talk. Because guess what? If I don't talk, you know what you hear? Shh. Nothing but silence. Okay, back to tonight's topics. We're in our second half. And as a matter of fact, we're in our last half hour. Certifications for boat operators from the domestic perspective. We talked about anybody working on any boat in the Bahamas that apply for hire. In other words, they're carrying either passengers for money or they're carrying cargo for money. Cargo means anything other than passenger. Eh? Cargo could be a tanker carrying oil. It could be a rug boat carrying sand, gravel, rocks. It could be a container ship carrying containers to Andros or wherever the mail boats go. It could be any boat that utilized for making money. You would need, even if you're a deckhand on a boat, or a wiper in the engine room, or once you're not the passenger, you wake on a boat, you need to do the basic safety training under STCW. And these people know this. In fact, all of them, if not, well, most of them, if not all, realized they had to do it because the port ain't give the boat the license without the people being fully trained with STCW for basic modules. Or is it for core modules? And what that is I think they take about 3 days to complete it. And it ain't cheap. You have to pay your money, right? I know Defense Force Base used to run it when it first started for a couple of years. Under my good friend, Pastor Chris Russell, he started it out. and then after him, I think my next good friend Glenn Lightbourne would have taken it over and taken it to another level, and then eventually you had other people running that program, and then the Defense Force stopped doing it. And some of these other entities like Guides Training under Mr. Lightbourne, like Shipmates and whatnot, these maritime training institutions, they took it up because there was a demand to train people in that area. And really, the Defense Force shouldn't be involved in training civilians anyway. When you have other entities doing it, Defense Force shouldn't be competing with them, even if they're doing it for free. It's not fair. So, RBDF, unless you're doing your own officers and men and officers and ratings, please refrain from trying to offer trainings, STCW trainings or endorsement courses, because you're getting tangled up with the people who are doing it for career. So those 4 modules are basically, well, you get the firefighting is one of the key ones. You get first aid, you get what they call social responsibility, and then you get firefighting. Now, the firefighting is, you got to suit up in that firefighting suit, and you got to be able to go in a live fire, simulated live fire, and don't choke to death, because your breathing apparatus is supposed to be on properly and all the rest of that. And so you get some real good hands-on, because when you're on these vessels and a fire broke out, it's expected that everybody on the vessel should already be familiar with donning or putting on a fire suit. And that's a simple reason for it. Otherwise, the vessel will have the fire suit, nobody will ever put it on, and when it's time for fire and you need to put it on, nobody know how to put it on because they didn't have to do the training. They didn't do the training, and all they know is, boy, I ain't touching that because I know nothing but that. And then the fear factor kicks in. But if they do a training where they actually don that firefighting suit and they go into some fire and put it out, then they will feel more confident when the time comes around to do on board their vessel to save either the vessel itself or save some people on the vessel, eh? Excuse me. And that's what that's all about. So we talk about the B and the A master licenses, A class and B class. And what are they? The B class means you are restricted to operate a vessel for hire within that particular port area that you got the license for. Right? So if you get a license for Exuma, you can't go to Cat Island and operate saying I got a B class license. No, because that's restricted to Exuma only. Now, if you want to upgrade it, then you can get an A class license. And you could go and you could take tourists out from anywhere in the Bahamas once you within that port area, not on open seas like you go and cross the ocean and stuff, right? Because to do that part, you would need to do an STCW certification course for whatever size vessel you want to operate that trip on. And under the STCW certifications, remember that the Bahamas certification for the A and B class don't come under the STCW code. They are requirements that the port department put there, right? You do a little test, and they got some courses offered by some of the local, and it's sad to know that these licenses are really not international licenses. These licenses only allow you to operate in a particular zone, but yet the people who are doing the training or putting on the courses are charging hundreds and hundreds of dollars unnecessarily, in my opinion. They're charging almost as much as you will pay to do an international license. It really shouldn't be all about the money. And these licenses, these don't really, come on man, these just domestic licenses. It shouldn't cost all the money I've been hearing these people charging. It shouldn't even be as long as they're trying to make it. So I think the port department needs to step in at some point. Step in, order these training, and let them know, look, this is overkill. Or you need to cut that out and focus on this. They need to steer the process. And not just sit back and tell people go here or go there, and once you bring the piece of paper, you're straight. You know, we got a lazy bunch in this country. In authority. You know, but it should be similar to road traffic and the people who teach you to learn how to drive. Now, you know a lot of nonsense going on with that too. Well, you don't know, but just hear these things, right? That a lot of nonsense. People could pay so much dollars and they'll get their license through the back door. But you're still getting through one of those training. They ain't do the actual training, you ain't do the actual test. But you get your license as though you did. And then you go on the road and you be a nuisance. And you think you know what you're doing, but you don't really know what you're doing. You're teeing other people off. And in some cases, you're causing other people to get an accident. All because of the slackness and the corruption. Everybody want to be money mongers. Let's just make this couple dollars, man. I mean, we can get you your license. Is anybody out there? I don't expect so. So we go to certification for ship operators, international certifications, and we talk about the up to 500 gross ton for a master or a mate. So if you want to move a ship around this country from one island port to another island port, you don't want to be restricted. You need two things. You need the A-class license first of all, because guess what? If you don't require by law that somebody operating a ship for hire from one island to another island required to have that A-class license, you know what happened? Foreigners who are master mariners and mates and qualified people can come and make money operating that vessel from one Bahamian island to the next. So the A-class and B-class license, excuse me again, is really there to protect the Bahamian community from foreigners coming in here and working those jobs. Because to get an A-class license or to get a B-class license, you have to get authority from the Port Authority Board. They have to authorize that. They have to issue that. The Port Department issues it to you once it's been approved by the board. And to get it approved, one of the requirements is you have to be a Bahamian. And then, of course, you have to pass the exam. And then, of course, you have to have a clean police record. And then they got some criteria that you have to meet before you get that license. And then when you're getting it renewed, they're making sure the same thing happen. Well, we don't know he's Bahamian. But now we will make sure your police record's still clean. We want to make sure over the past year, he ain't get no problems with his license because we might want to renew it. And that's just the way it rolls, right? So we got situations where the foreigner might want to come in here and guess what? Guess what? I saying that, right? I saying that these captain jobs in the Bahamas should be reserved for people. But we got so much foreigners being captains in this country. We got so much foreigners being mates. So much foreigners being chief engineers. So much foreigners being deckhands. When it comes to ships vessels operating for hire within the Bahamas. And I ain't no lying man. And anybody who could contest that or tell me that ain't true, or only in certain situations, please, 326-8255, give me a call, let's discuss it. I seen this with my own, well, only my eyes I could see through, eh? But my own two eyes, as we say. Why we Bahamians can talk foolishness? Who else's eyes you could be seeing the truth? Anyway, that's just a little laugh for the side, right? Because you all even want to call me, I can make myself laugh. And so, yes, you are protected as a Bahamian from the foreigners coming and treading. Well, you should be protected because you know we got some foreigners doing it, right? Immigration, I don't think they checking. Well, I know they wasn't checking when I approached them. I don't know about now, but it would appear as though they still ain't checking. A little couple dollars here, couple dollars there. Anybody can get a license as a Bahamian, although they don't hold a Bahamian passport. to do what Bahamians can do because the ship owner could pay them less, and all the rest of those other things that go with the corruption in our country. So, of course, we need to fix that. Now, for the international certifications, for Bahamians who want to go on big ships and see the world, they would need to get certified under the STCW code. And those certifications start with mates and masters up to 500 gross tons. So that's the smaller vessels. 500 gross tons, they call them non-SOLAS vessels, right? Unless it's a passenger vessel. SOLAS kicks into cargo ships when they are over 500 tons. If you're under 500 tons as a cargo ship, you don't have to worry about SOLAS. You don't have to worry about the Coast Guard coming and inspecting your ship against the SOLAS Convention and that type of thing, because you're exempt. But if you're over 500, then you know you got to have certain things in place. And same thing with engineers. Chief engineer, second engineer, but they start at 750 kilowatt, while the deck captain or mate start at 500 gross tons. And then that goes up to 3,000 kilowatts and 3,000 gross tons. And then the last and final stage is for the chief engineer or the master mariner, where they go unlimited tonnage, right? Over 3,000 gross tons or over 3,000 kilowatt. And they're the big head honchos. And that's for training certification under the STCW code, Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping for Seafarers. Then we got the ISPS trainings. I'm giving you all these technical words, but you know, this is a maritime show, eh? So if you have any questions, any clarity you need, call Captain Glenn Bain, again, 326-8255. For those who are just tuning in, you're listening to Maritime Matters. And on this show, we talk maritime. We come to you live every Tuesday at 5:05 p.m. As we say in the maritime world, 17:05. And we end at 6:30 p.m. or 6:35. Or as we say in the maritime world, 18:35. Right? Well, why do we say a.m. or 18:35? 18:35 will tell you right off the top that we're talking about 6:30 in the p.m. Because you remember, if you just say 6:30, that could be 6:30 in the morning. But if you say 18:30, that cannot be 6:30 in the morning, although it's still 6:30, but that will have to be in the evening. And if you say 06:30 or 06:30, that will have to be in the morning. That can't be 18:30. So the 24-hour clock differentiates the difference between AM and PM. You don't need AM and PM no more when you're talking 24-hour clock. You just need 2400 hours. And they will tell you exactly when in the day we're talking about. Just a little sidebar there, right? So we're back to ISPS. ISPS requires training for anybody working on board a ship in any capacity, or anybody working at a port facility in any capacity. So if you work in administration, if you're an accountant, you're the account assistant at a big port facility, excuse me, you will need to be certified under the ISPS code. You will need to sit a 4-hour training, take an exam and pass it, and then you are authorized to continue working on that. And if you ain't certified, that facility should be flagged. And flagging could mean that facility is no longer allowed to receive a ship. And we know what happens if the facility can't receive a ship. The only reason why that facility is there is to receive ships. Either to send cargo on ships, or send passengers, or receive passengers, or whatever the case may be, right? Throw it again. Excuse me. So you don't want that facility closed down. So once you wake in any capacity, you could be the person coming to clean the bathrooms. Usually they have contractors. Now if you're a contractor, again, once you're coming there on a routine basis, you need to do this 4-hour training. The only people who are not required to do that 4-hour training is people who are already certified at a higher level training, like your security staff or your PFSO, or somebody coming as a visitor. You didn't know they was coming. They ain't coming there every day. They only come probably once in every couple of weeks. They come to visit. They ain't come to do no work. Those who come to do engage activities are all required to do or have done that awareness, 4 hours awareness training. And then you have the 9-hour training. 9 hours all in one day. If you start at 8 in the morning, you know what time you finish. 8, 9, or 17. You'll finish at 1700. If you start at 9 in the morning, what time you'll finish? 9 and 9 is what? 18. So it'll be 1800 hours. Some people will start at 7 in the morning. So 700 plus 9 hours. 9 and 7 is 16. And finish at 1600 hours, which is 4 o'clock. So you see why the maritime or military timing makes a difference and why it's so nice to know and use? Yes. Because we can just add the hours and say what it is. So the person serving as a security, this is the person who doing checking your ID, making sure you authorized to come in, person who's patrol the facility, the person who's do searches if they have a search period, and all the rest of that. They do a little more than just the fellow who come to wait there. So their training is more intensive. They cover more material. And instead of 4 hours, they do 10 hours. All in one day. It's a hard training, I can tell you. It's hard for the trainer too, boy. I try to get out of that now. I know if I can be doing it, I want no more. That hard. But the code requires it to be done. And they outline what topics you need to be covering while you're doing it. Right? And then there's the full 3-day training. 6 hours a day. And that's for those people who are going to be like the managers of ISPS requirements. And ISPS got a lot of requirements. And those managers of the ISPS requirements, their training is 3 full days. And it's 3 of them that the code speaks to. Only 3. You get the person who managing the port facility security, who is the port facility security officer, PFSO. You get the person who managing the ship security, who again is the ship security officer. And then you get the person who assisting the ship in the office. Because you know the office got all the money, they got all the pull. So the ship can make his own arrangement to get a CCTV replaced, to get a repairman to come and fix the locks and stuff like that. So the ship security officer and the captain would request the company security officer and the officer company who they're talking to every day to make that arrangement at their next port. And so the company security officer needs to also be certified during the same 18-hour training, 3 full days. So 3 entities that have to do that one. The ship security officer, the company security officer, and the port facility security officer. And they are known as the cooperating entities for ISPS to keep ISPS going, right? That's why they have to do this long training, because everything is on their shoulders, right? So we're down to 10 minutes. Again, if you want in on the show, what is one must be born? Because you're all in. Check it. 326-8255. The number to call is 326-8255. So my throat need a break. And I'm going to take another break. Usually I don't do it this quick. But people, you are listening to Maritime Matters. I will be back right after the break. So please continue listening and stand by.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
Off the CD player, through the console, into the transmitter, out of the tower, through your speakers, through your ears. Nothing but hits.
Love 97.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back live at Love 97 FM. You're listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain, and our producer for the night, Mr. Craig Gibson. We got one topic left. We talk about it briefly, but boy, we only got a couple minutes left. I kind of wish we had more time. We want to talk a little bit about the Marine pilot. We all know, well, I guess most of us do, that the Marine pilot makes a lot of money. And that's what people normally focus on. Oh, they make plenty of money. What I got to do to be a pilot? Oh, you don't want to know. What do you need to do to become a pilot? And I don't know airplane pilot will just make a couple of dollars, less than $100,000. I talking about a Marine pilot. What does make? I want to say $1,000 a day, but all of them don't make $1,000 a day. Some make $500 a day, right? But most Marine pilots worldwide make a very handsome salary compared to other people, right? Even the ones working for the port of Freeport, they all make over $100,000 a year. Well, I shouldn't say all. It depends on what level you're at. Now you may be working for Barco or South Riding Point, and they can gear less, right? They can gear less because they're moving less ships, and big piloting, big deal to them, right? But you still make a very handsome salary. You pay, pilots are paid more than just about every other staff member. Marine pilots. But what you need to do to become a Marine pilot, man, let me tell you something. The law requires that you do 3 years of apprenticeship. During those 3 years, every single year, you're supposed to be tested by the Port Authority Board of that area. Now, ain't much areas got Port Authority boards. And that's where we in this country has fallen down. Because every single area should have, every port area should have a Port Authority board. And there's no reason, I ain't giving nobody tell me we can't stay backwards like this forever. You can't tell me you can't find 7 people on the island to be members of a Port Authority board with a little bit, because I can tell you the set in Nassau, some of them ain't know the first thing but maritime. I mean, some of the taxi drivers they had there and stuff, they don't know the first thing, but they go in there and they learn a little something. But when it's time to vote, they're ready to vote. And they basically vote in line with what the advisors, the port controller, deputy port controller, and them would reveal to them. But you have a board. You need to be active. You have to review all these people who are trying to get a license for that area, like master's license for that area. People who are trying to get a boat license for that area to carry tourists or carry passengers or carry freight or whatever. This ain't difficult to figure out. We all got good common sense. But the government needs to insist on appointing people, because people ain't mine. And then we need to take some politics out of it now. I mean, that's hard to do, eh? Because, we quite polarized, especially when it comes to these little island communities. Quite polarized. But even if you can keep your politics, at least name your people, so that they could be coerced into a system of protecting their own and ensuring that foreigners ain't coming and they're the pilot no boat. ensuring that people who are doing these things are getting certain stuff, ensuring that at Coco Key and Stirrup Key, the captains in piloting their own ships in there, and you got people on land who can be pilots and get that job. At Castaway Key with Disney, we got people who could come from mainland Abaco. We got people who drive boats every day. People who could learn how to bring ships in and out of ports. Because it ain't difficult and hard to learn. And we've been doing it now for decades, centuries. So we need to get those boards in place. Do what need to be done. And look at these apprentices in view of getting them larger ships to bring in. And after the 3 years, they should be certified to bring in a ship on their own. Right? As a matter of fact, after the first year, they should be told what size ships they can now bring in, since they did a year of apprenticeship. And they came in there with certain certifications, with certain qualifications to even be considered to be a pilot apprentice. Right? And that's how that's supposed to roll. Well, as we approach time, that's the apprenticeship program, the examinations we don't have time to go into. Clearances. Clearances basically what? Clearances are like, after your first year, the Port Authority Board will decide what size ship we will allow you to bring in next, because you done passed that first phase. You're just bringing in ships up to 500 feet or 350 feet. Now we can allow you to bring ships up to 500 feet for this next year. And then the last year after that, we'll allow you to bring ships up to 800 feet. And then when you finish your 3 years fast, we can say you can bring in any size ship. Because you came there with certain certification already. We only come to cold turkey to try and learn. We know you don't have sea time. We know you don't serve as a mate on board a ship. We know you don't drive some local ships as captain. We know you don't serve internationally on board ship. So we know you are suitable to be an apprentice. So we can start you off with some length, 350 feet. You should be able to handle them. You ain't driving the boat, the captain's still on the boat, but at least you're assisting him, telling him where's the shallow water, where's this. Anyway, that kind of ends my time. You tired of hearing my voice? Well, you got it. I got to close. So ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for following us live and in living color on Maritime Matters. We covered the basic maritime training schedule. We did training for boat operators domestically, the A and B class license, the 4 core modules of the basic safety training under SCCW. We talk about the international certifications, master and mate under 500 gross ton, chief engineer and second engineer under 750, then they go on to 3,000, then they go on to unlimited. Then we talk about ISPS certifications. We talk about anybody working on a port facility on board a ship needs to do the 4-hour training. We talk about all persons who are serving in the capacity of security, designated security duties, inspections, patrols. They need to do 10 hours now. They shift it from 9 to 10. 10 hours training. And then, of course, the head honchos. The fella who's in charge of the port facility security, that's the PFSO, Port Facility Security Officer. The one who's in charge on the ship security officer. And the one who assists the ship in the office, the company security officer. His training, their training, is a full 18 hours, 3 days of 6 hours each, right? And then we talk about the marine pilot training. You start off as an apprentice, you get examined every day. Every year you examine to see what size ships you could bring in. You start getting clearances for certain size ships, and then at the end of the day, you get your certification. You wait in line after 3 years, and when your time come up, you certified, right? That's how that rolls. So again, that was our show for the night. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Proud, happy, always here to be with you. And Anime, good night to you, Anime. My good old Anime must have drop sleep on me now. This is boring tonight, she can say. So ladies and gentlemen, our producer for the night has been Mr. Craig Gibson. Our sponsors are Bahamas Maritime Connection and Island Care Pharmacy in Freeport, and of course 101 Pharmacy here in Nassau. Again, we'll be back next Tuesday, same time, 17:05 p.m. until 18:35 p.m. This is your host, Captain Glenn Bain, saying to you as always, Maritime Matters. Tick, 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 tick. Out.
Sit in the dark